Hello YouTube, and welcome to a very blockbuster video. Now, if you've already seen the title, you would already know what this is. Yeah, we will be reviewing, which I've now got in my hand, the Microsoft Lumia 535. Yes, you did hear me correctly, little Bixy has not gone off the edge. We will be reviewing the Microsoft Lumia 535. Now, if you do not know, and we should get into some details, I'm actually going to get the tech specs up. I know a lot of them. Bearing in mind, I will make this clear, I have got a Microsoft Lumia 535, it's actually in my hand now. I've had it for about 2 weeks. And yes, it is connected to the internet, so I've used the internet features on it. Let me just get the exact tech specs up for you here, guys, so I get this correct. I think I've got an idea what they are, but I just want to make sure I get correct for you guys. Now, if you don't know, and a lot of people will go, well, Lumia... Now, if you don't know that Nokia was actually bought by Microsoft, a lot of people will actually go, well, Lumia's Nokia. It's not Microsoft. Yeah, you're correct. It is a Nokia brand, and that actually, I can't actually give you a screen look at this, sadly, because I haven't got a screen recorder, which I am trying to get for this. If you actually go, and I shall tell you what it exactly says if you give me a minute. If you go to settings and you go to the bottom, it actually says, and this is to prove to you, it says set up your Nokia account. Now basically a Nokia account is, as I know of, basically maps pretty much, and Nokia services. Now the 535, I think it was released in 2013. I will just double check that. When was the Lumia 535? Now I will state this for the record. This is one of the I have had smartphones, but they're nowhere near as advanced as this was. My smartphones were like kind of like really the first mainstream kind of cheap smartphones, really. And I will actually detail. You probably won't know this, but as you know, I'm in the UK, but I had something called an Orange Miami at first, which was about 4 years ago, and that actually packed up, and I got another one, and now that one's actually packed up, and I've had an Orange Sydney. Now both of those are, if you don't know, Orange makes. They've made them themselves. Yes, it does have internet features, both of them do. Obviously the Sydney more advanced than the Miami was, but it's not near as advanced as this has. Now, if I actually put the right thing in Google, let me show start on that. I should just want to make sure I get this dead on correct. Now I have the white version. I'll make that clear. That's the version I actually have, and I will find out the exact version of the operating system it uses. Now, let me just find the date. Come on, where's the date? Now, oh come on, it's got out of date, surely, yeah, should say here. Yes, it was, no, that's the successor. No, sorry, I should have checked this. I think it was sometime in 2013 it was released. I don't know the exact date for that, so I do apologise there. Now, the Microsoft Lumia 535 is basically a Nokia Lumia 535. Okay, I'll make sure I get this clear now. All it basically is, because what happened, I think it was 2013, Nokia was bought by Microsoft, and basically, now you're probably wondering, well, why was, I don't think 435, but why was like the 525 a Nokia Lumia? And I think the 525 it was because one of my family members have 525. I think it was because 525, I think it's something like 525. I can't fully remember. I think it was because that was actually released before. It was, yeah, it's hard to explain this bit. Actually, it was released. No, I know what I'm trying to say, but when Microsoft bought Nokia, they already had these phones in production. So like all of the 25 series, so like the 525, the 625, the 425, I think it was as well, and so on pretty much. was already in production. So, like, and I think to be exact, they had a release date and it was actually being like made. Now, because what would happen, because Microsoft now bought Nokia, they did not change the name on it for that like series, because for a start it would be very cost ineffective, sorry, because they would have to reprint, and let's say like they bought Nokia and they already had like 1 million of these phones ready, they would have to scrap all 1 million of those, and then they would have to remake it for each line, which would cost a lot of money. And I think it was Nokia was already in pretty much, I think it was in debt or something like that. That was not going very well. I could be wrong there though. So what they decided is for the 525 series to actually just make them Nokia Lumias and continue with that. Now I apologise, I'm stumbling a bit because I've been up about an hour. I'm still quite tired, but anyway, so that is why it's called a Microsoft Lumia, because these was produced after the Microsoft and buying Nokia was all up through. They bought it, etc. Now, first we're going to go on to the technical specifications, and we'll get the exact technical specifications from Microsoft's site, which I've got up, and I will get them from Wikipedia as well. I will double check this. Now, if on Microsoft's site is a 5-inch display, which is true, Nokia Lumia 5, not Nokia, Microsoft Lumia 535, I will get my words correct. It has a 5 megapixel main camera. Now, if you don't know, a main camera, and now you'll find a lot of phones these days actually have a camera on the front. That is not the main camera. The main camera will be the one on the back. Now on the Nokia, and not the Nokia, the Microsoft Lumia 535, you have the camera, you have the flashlight, which you can use, and there's apps you can actually use a flashlight for this. You actually have at the bottom, and I didn't know this till recently, you actually have like a little line thing. I will see if I can get a picture up for you like this. Now at first I thought that was a light for when you charge. It is actually not. That is actually the speaker. It's very good quality audio, which I will get into in a minute. In a bit, sorry. Now, on the camera on this is brilliant, to be honest. The flashlight, it means you can have flash, which my old phone didn't even have that actually. I think my old phone had like a 0.3 or 1 megapixel camera. So as you can imagine, 4 megapixels or 4 to 4.7 megapixels difference. It's quite a lot. You obviously get an app for this as well for your camera, so I will get that up while I'm actually talking to you. That is my phone, you can hear in the background. I'm actually going to turn the ringer and notifications down just in case I get an email, because actually I have a custom ringtone set, which I shall speak to you about that in a bit. Now, if you look in the Lumia camera, you have a couple of settings. You have your smart sequence. Now what your smart sequence does, this is, and as it says, it's smart, it's a very smart tool. When you take a picture, it actually takes it like, and I'm just trying to think, like kind of a video kind of thing. Now you also have an app called Lumia Storyteller, which I shall explain in a minute. And basically what this actually does is it takes, let's say, 4 or 5 pictures or something, and it makes it into kind of a video. So like if you're taking a picture or something, like if I was to try and take a picture of my keyboard and mouse now, and I can actually see if I can put it in, if I was to do that, it would go, it like has a circle that goes around, it goes and it takes 4 of them. I won't actually, because I've still got to buy a USB cable for this, which is something it doesn't actually include, which I shall explain a bit more in a minute. You also have video, so you can have a video camera on here. Obviously you have smart sequence, you have your normal camera as well. Now in the actual advanced settings, as they call it, you have your WB auto, which is your white balance. You have your focus, which you can change. You have your ISO, which is your sensitivity. You have your shutter speed, which is basically how quick it does it, as I know. I should know this because I took photography. You have your brightness, so you can increase the brightness or not, and you obviously have your flash, which means you can turn flash off or on. You then have in the camera, you have your You can look at your pictures, and there is another app actually for the front camera, which I will get onto in a minute. Now, it has 8 GB of internal memory. Now, if you know is megabytes, that is 8,000 megabytes, if you're wondering. I'm not going to go into kilobytes because I don't know. I think it's 80,000 kilobytes. I will check that actually for you. Megabytes to kilobytes. Which is, if I go, it's 8,000. That's not actually, but let me change it to gigabytes. Right, not 8,000 because that would be stupid. Right, it's basically 8e plus 6. I'm sure it's 80,000 to be exact. Not exact. Now, it has for its network, the 535. You can obviously, this depends as well what operator you use for your phone. Now, it has a 3.5 and 3.5G. It has 3.5G, which is basically 3G. It does not have 4G, because if I remember right, it was not around when this phone actually was released. I'm sure it was 2013 or 2014 this was released. I can actually check. Excuse me as well. I can actually check on here. I'm sure if I go down to about, then it should tell me. Yeah, it's 2014 that this was released, and as I know, I remember it was just coming in to, I think the right word's coming in 4G really. I think America already had it, if I remember right, but I don't think here in the UK 4G was as big as it is now really. I will just double check that. I can't find the other one actually that I would usually use, which is a bit of a bummer. All I can find is phone update. Yeah, that's basically what that is pretty much. 3G is basically now, and when you actually have a SIM card, obviously, because you've got to have one. If you use, like at home, I use my network, my internet connection for this. Obviously, that doesn't charge you really. It does at times. It doesn't really charge you. Now, if you're out, let's say like I walk the shops, or I go to the Tesco's or something like that, or I go into town. Basically, what this does, it uses something called roaming. They call it as well. There's other names for it. I know roaming's mainly when you're on holiday in a foreign country, but I'm sure that's what they call it here as well. I will try and double check that and put it in the bottom if I get a chance for you to make sure. And obviously, if you want to correct me in the comments, be my guest. I could be wrong though. So that's what I'm saying. Basically, what that does is when you're like out and about, your operator, so mine is actually EE Orange, because mine is orange, but they are now called EE. What they basically do is they'll have like hotspots. So I think, now this is where I'm slightly shady, I think it's done by satellite. I could be wrong. It's either done by satellite or they have like reception boxes pretty much, which is basically how you get your phone signal. Because if you don't have any reception, like if you go into a hospital or something like that, you find you don't really have any reception at all. Now what this actually does is it basically makes, it's like they use that as their internet. And my phone has actually just gone off. I will be 2 seconds guys, because I've actually got to do something and then we shall continue. Right, I do apologise about that guys, that shouldn't happen again. Anyway, now as I was saying, I think, yeah, I know what I was saying. So that basically what that is. Imagine like in a simple term, 3G or your mobile data is basically like your operator will have like routers around different parts of the country or world. That's how I imagine it. I could be slightly wrong there, but if they use satellite, obviously they use that. Now that is because of technology really. And I think the only time, I can't remember, 3G, I know 3G did come into play. I think my old phone was 3G, or it was 2G, it was something like that. But the phone I nearly got actually had 2G, pretty much. And there's a long story into this which I'll explain why I think as well, personally, out of my personal opinion, Other people might think differently, that I think the operating system on Microsoft phones or the Windows Phone operating system is superior really to Android. Not so much iOS, because I haven't used the phone version of iOS, I've used the iPad version of it. I think there's supposed to be a few like small differences really, obviously, but I could be wrong. Now, as I was saying, it has 8 GB of memory installed. Now, you can add something called a micro SD card. If you don't know what a micro SD card is, basically it's like, you know, like if you've got a tablet, you put an SD card into it, or for example, if you've got a Nintendo 3DS, the card you put into it, or now this one not as much, if you have a PS Vita, it's like a card that goes into that, but just not that one, because that one's specifically for the PS Vita, pretty much. So it's not that, but it is. Now, you can actually add 128 gigabytes of data, not data pretty much to it, and that's storage, not mobile data. Don't get that confused there, because I know I'm quite tired and my words I'm going like mixing up. But 128 gigabytes of storage. Now I apologise if I mix my words up, so I'm still a little tired here. Now, the front camera on the phone has a 5 megapixel wide angle camera, so that will be the same as the back one. Your processor is a quad core 1.2 gigahertz. Now, I will just double check that it doesn't say more on that, because some like thing can mean differently pretty much. You see what I'm saying? And it's very hard to explain this really. Some companies will class a quad core as 3 cores. Other companies will class it as 3 cores, and this one's not a lot used. Some companies will class a quad core as 3, some will class a 3 core as tri, some companies will class a 4 core as a quad, and others will class, and this one's not as much, sometimes I don't think they do that much anymore anyway, some will class a quad core as an 8 core. Now that doesn't really happen anymore, it's very, very rare. Now they usually class them as, I think it's hex core or octa core. I think sure it's octa core, which is in the new Lumia phones that's been announced. Pardon me. So that is basically the CPU unit. Now the GPU, and I will actually tell you the exact name of the CPU if you want to actually have a look. It's a Qualcomm Riot, I think that says, yeah. And the GPU, it doesn't actually go into much details, but it's a Qualcomm Adreno 302 to be precise. It has 1 GB of RAM, which is very useful in a phone, because, and this is like, as I've explained with to some people, and I know laptops are slowly becoming, and I know this has gone off top of it, but I know laptops are becoming more upgradable, but like similar to laptops, this is, you can't really upgrade them, because whereas a PC, like I've got an 1000 watt power supply, I could go out and what I'm actually planning to do to buy the new 980 Ti graphics card and the video one GTX, and I can stick it in there no problems. Whereas, for example, a laptop, obviously, if you're really brave, and I mean you're really brave, and you want to attempt the phone, I'm not recommending this. I'm honestly not recommending this to you, because I don't even think you can upgrade a phone, to be honest, because it will break it. And the same with a tablet. I think a tablet's more upgradable, I think, than a phone, but that's a whole different story. Whereas a laptop and like that, you can't. It's near impossible. Like newer laptops, you can, because, and you can actually with older laptops, but whereas that, as I just said, I just have to stick a new graphics card in that and some new RAM because I've got enough watts. In a laptop, you've got to change everything. If you change like the CPU, you've got to change the power supply, you've got to change the charger. As I know, if I could be wrong on the charger one, again, correct me if I'm wrong. You've got to change a lot of stuff, and what you've got to remember is, like mine, I've just got to buy a card, stick it in, plug it in, put it on the front, job done. Because I'm actually going for a water-cooled one. Whereas with this, you can't do that. With like a laptop or that, you've got it. Whereas like my PCs are the card, and as you know, nearly all, unless you use an APU PC, has a card for their graphics. phones, tablets, and laptops quite a lot of the time. Some newer laptops don't have this problem, but some laptops, or a lot of them, you'll have a chip compared to that. And now obviously your CPU in here, you will have a chip, you don't have a card obviously, and like your RAM will be on the board, etc. And that's most probably similar to this. Now if we get back onto topic, the battery is a 1905 mAh battery. To put that into perspective, your maximum standby time is 23 days. Now by standby it means you don't play any games and you don't really have phone calls, but as you know, you're gonna get phone calls. If you're buying a phone like this, you are, and your, let me just find it because I've actually got a better thing on this. The resolution of the display is 960p times 540. Let me find. Pixel density is 220 ppi. You've got Corning Gorilla Glass 3, which I think all that basically means is it's more of a resistant glass, pretty much. And you also actually have on this phone an app called OneDrive. Now, if you don't know what OneDrive is, it's basically Microsoft's answer to Dropbox, to put it into perspective. And answers really that, and basically you save like your files to etc. And you actually get 30 gigabytes with that as well, which is very useful. So on top of that, so in total you can actually have by this one phone, I think it's, you can actually have 166, I think it is thereabout, was 8, yeah, I think so, yeah, you can have 166 gigabytes of data, storage, or data, whatever way you want to put it. That's a lot of storage. Now, and we will go into the details of the battery again. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go into the voltage. It is a replaceable battery, so if for some reason the battery gets damaged, you can replace it. Now, I'm not going to go into the voltage, obviously I just said the capacity. Your maximum standby time, as I said, was 23 days. Now, your maximum talk time for 2G, which is another type of mobile data, is 11 hours. Your maximum talk time for 3G is 13 hours. Your maximum music playback time is 78 hours. So basically, if you wanted to play music for that long, which I don't think you would, but if you did, let's just say if you did, you could basically for 78 hours straight without the phone dying or the charge going on it, you could play music pretty much. Now, your maximum Wi-Fi network browsing time is 8.5 hours. Again, similar to that. Similar to the music, if you used to do that for that amount of time, which you might not, depends. Obviously, that you might. I don't think you can do on a flight. I don't think you can. I could be wrong. But your maximum video playback time is 6.5 hours. Again, if you was watching a movie for 6.5 hours, you could do that for that amount of time. Now, and you obviously have an ambient light sensor, accelerometer, which basically I think it's to do with the moving, I could be wrong, and proximity sensor. Now the light sensor is actually quite smart. Now, because I have mine set to the screen will actually turn off after about I think it's 30 minutes. Now actually, if you unlock yours like that, if I was to unlock that and I was to actually lock mine and go onto there, and if I kept it like that, it would stay on. If I was to close my thing like that, or my case that I have, and I was to open it, let's say I'll just wait 2 minutes, pretty much, and I was to actually open it, the screen would be off. So even if you actually have it set for 30 minutes on, pretty much if you close it, the phone realizes that you've closed the case, pretty much, or it turns the screen off, and that, I think, is to save battery power. You obviously get Cortana on here, which I will explain a bit more in a minute, but we shall go into this. Now, obviously for a SIM card, you need a micro SIM, which I found out the hard way, which is a long story. For your USB you need a micro USB, which actually does not come in the box. It just comes with the charger, pretty much the phone. That's pretty much it, and the instruction manual. It's quite a small box, well, actually, may I add. Now, you get Bluetooth 4.0, and you get Wi-Fi. I'm not going into that, but Wi-Fi hotspot up to 8 Wi-Fi enabled devices. It's USB toy 2.0, I meant to say, pretty much for the micro USB. And that is actually the charging connector as well for that. Now, you can share with Lumia Storyteller. Now, if you go into the apps really of this, I will just double check I'm not missing anything. I was missing something. Now, the front camera resolution is 480p. The main camera video resolution, which is the back camera, is 480p but 30 FPS. So it's not HD, but it's quite, I think my one was like 120 or 240p, so it's quite a big boost. Now your video playback is 30 FPS again, and obviously you get your apps as well. Now you also have Xbox on here, the Xbox app, and obviously you get your device security, etc. Now pretty much what comes actually in the box is your Microsoft Lumia 535. The battery does not come in the phone, it does come in the box though, I add. You get your user guide, your battery and your charger. That's what comes in the box for the phone. Now if we go into details, I will just double check again I'm not missing anything, because I think I am. Obviously you get multi-touch I think it's multi-touch anyway, from what it's saying. And you also get a touchscreen. If you don't know, yes, it is a touchscreen. If you haven't gathered that yet, I apologise if you haven't. It's quite light, the phone is, and it's big, but it's quite light, I've got to be honest. Now, if we go into actually the phone, it runs on Microsoft Windows Phone 8.1. Now, as I said, I was going to tell you why I think this is better than Android. Now, as I know of, when you actually use an Android phone, at first you get Google Maps. Now, if you don't know here, Android is owned by Google. You get Google Maps come on, you get all the updates going in the background that you can't, as I know of, you can't stop, because a family member had this problem with their Android phone. Now, when you actually boot up your Windows phone for the first time, or your 535, or whatever Windows phone you go for, you basically get it'll say your setup, and you can actually set it so you tell it when you want the updates. You can set it so it doesn't use the maps. Now that is very smart, because especially for your contract, now it's not that much for me as a problem because I'm pay as you go, but if your contract and pretty much you have that, it's very useful because it will not use the internet connection in the background, pretty much. So now another way to stop that is just turn the internet off completely. Now I haven't done that because I actually have my emails on them, my school emails and my Outlook emails. You also get on here a data sense, which will tell you if you set how many megabytes of data you want, or megabits, whatever you want to use at a certain time. You basically can, that's what I'm looking for, you can actually tell it once you get to that certain limit, that's it. It will not let you use it, restrict it. Obviously you get your OneDrive. You also get Cortana. Now Cortana, if you don't know, is on Windows 10 as well. Now on this you can actually tell Cortana to remind you. You can tell it what weather you would like. You can tell it your stocks. You can actually use it to find out what music you're listening to, as well, on what music on the TV or in a concert. You obviously get your Xbox games, which pretty much tells you, what's the word I'm looking for, about your achievement points and stuff like that, your friends you can talk to. You get Internet Explorer, which I haven't actually used because I refuse to. Obviously I've got a dictionary app. You get your store as well. What else? You obviously get, and you get for your front camera, and as I was saying, you get the Lumia selfie, which basically means you can take a picture of yourself from the front. That's how you use the front camera pretty much. You obviously get your weather, you get your photos, and your Lumia Storyteller, which is pretty much like how long the photos have been on there, etc. You get your People app, which tells you what your contact is, which is very useful. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what's in my contacts, or who's in my contacts, but Obviously you can set your picture, you can set emails for them as well, you can set their birthday, etc. And obviously you can set your groups, and you can set a room as well, and you can have other accounts to link with that. Personally, the phone is very good for what it is. It's a very, very good phone, I've got to be honest. The apps that's actually on it, and as well, like I have a few games on mine, is very good. You get your calendar, your calculator, you get all of the normal apps you would get as well, and more really. The only downside I would say to this is that it has Internet Explorer. Now I personally don't like that, other people might, but I personally don't like Internet Explorer, let's be honest. Obviously you get your Xbox app on here as well, you get your news, etc. The live tiles is brilliant on this. You also get Office as well. It's just brilliant to have those live tiles, really, because you get a message, like I got a message, that's why my phone vibrated. You can unlock the phone, it tells you immediately on the page who it's from and like a brief overview of it, which is very good, really. Overall, I would say the phone is very good. I would give it a 9 out of 10. The only downside being that you've got to, for everything like the Cortana and stuff like that, you've got to use and the Internet Explorer. That's personally why I would give it a 9 out of 10 and not a 10 out of 10. Other than that, it's such a brilliant phone. The graphics on it that you can have, just like how you can set it. You can set it to quiet hours so it doesn't wake you. You can set your wallet up on here, and everything like that. You can manage your storage. The other thing is, obviously, you need to make a custom ringtone. You actually need to download something called Ringtone Maker from the store, which basically means any music you've got, you cut it to like, I think it's 1 minute, and pretty much you go from there, really, and that's your ringtone pretty much, and you get to choose what part of the song you have of that. Again, as I was saying, overall I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's a very good phone and it's worth buying personally. I paid, I think it was about £100, no, £90 even, facts right there, which is very good for how much it actually is and how good it is. Personally, I would buy this again any day. I would buy a Windows Phone again as well, and I really like this phone. I think you would like it as well. The apps that it actually has on it is, I think personally, is more advanced than Android as well, really. And the actual option, I know you can do this with Android phones, but the option to upgrade to Windows 10 is there, really, on these. And I think, like, as well, Windows phones don't get that much credit, really, for what they actually can do. And I know some people say, well, a phone's not meant to actually do that, but do what a PC can do. But that is the way technology is actually going, that you can have like a PC in your pocket, pretty much. And that was proven actually with the Windows 10 devices event, which is a totally different story. Overall, as I said, for controls and how you can control it, I would give it a 10 out of 10. For apps and stuff like that, I would give it a 9 out of 10, basically because you actually have to use Internet Explorer. For the graphics and how it runs and how smoothly it runs on the operating system, again I would give it a 10 out of 10. I'm just trying to think how it like runs on games and apps as well, again 10 out of 10. Overall, as I said, I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's a very good phone, bar for really that you've got to use Internet Explorer. I would pick it up if you haven't got a smartphone or you want to move to Windows Phone, but you don't want to go stupidly expensive. It's very good. It's worth buying. And on that note, guys, really, I'm gonna have to end. As I said, a 10 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10, a 9 out of 10 for the phone. So I'm gonna say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to see more great content. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Comment, let me know what you thought of the video. Anything that I've like missaid or I've said wrong, just let me know. I was gonna say, yeah, share as much as you possibly can. And as I said, I'm gonna say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.